On Osrc News at 7, medical experts in Ondo advocate immunization to check hepatitis spread. Nigerian Army naps Boko Haram weapon supplier. On the foreign scene, French President Macron condemns coup d'etat in Niger Republic. Thank you very much for joining us tonight on the news at 7 on Osrc television. I am Oyewumi Ayinigbara. Today is World Hepatitis Day. The day raises awareness about viral hepatitis and the need for prevention, testing and treatment. The day aims to promote prevention, testing and treatment and to show support for those affected by hepatitis. The distressing figures showing that someone dies from hepatitis or other associated illnesses every 30 seconds globally give rise to the necessity of this awareness campaign. This year's theme is One Life, One Liver. Meanwhile, incessant intake of alcohol, paracetamol, as well as infections from multiple sex partners are among the root causes of hepatitis diseases. As Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark this year's Hepatitis Day, experts have urged on proper immunization to stem the spread of the disease in society. Omoriola Ongbiji spoke with medical experts in Akure, Ondo State capital, on the risk associated with hepatitis infections.
As analyzed by medical experts, hepatitis, a silent disease, is a viral infection which attacks the liver, a vital organ in the human body that performs over 500 vital functions to keep an individual healthy. According to them, there are different types of hepatitis from A to E, but pointed out B and C as the most common of the infections. Medical experts confirmed that nearly 8,000 of these viral infections are recorded daily. The World Health Organization on this year's theme, One Life, One Liver, approximates 296 million people live with chronic hepatitis B in 2019. 1 million people die every year, while over 3 million are infected annually.
We're committed to working with all countries and all partners to realize our shared vision of eliminating viral hepatitis by 2030. Because we have one life, one liver.
Director of Medical Services, Ondo State Primary Health Care, Dr. Paulinus Omode, who itemized the causes of this life-threatening disease to include intake of alcohol, cigarettes, incessant intake of paracetamol, overweight, infections through multiple sex, sharing of sharp objects, said too much pressure on the liver shortens human lifespan.
The liver performs several functions silently. It's an organ that is working, doesn't make noise while he's doing his own work. And anything that affects it can also affect several key organs like the heart, the brain, and even the kidney. So it performs several functions to help other body organs function properly.
Professor of Microbial Pathology at the University of Medical Sciences, Ondo, Michael Odimayo, also referred to hepatitis as inflammation of liver, which is caused by many agents, but without major symptoms aside dizziness, fever, until it reaches an advanced stage.
Then we have hepatitis that is due to immune responses. We call it autoimmune hepatitis. We have this. And we have hepatitis in children. That is, children maybe about 1-2 months of life. That is also a form of hepatitis. Then if we want to classify it based on the duration of illness, we have what we call acute hepatitis. That is the form of hepatitis that do happen that can be resolved within 6 months. But once it goes beyond 6 months, we consider it as chronic hepatitis. But we have some form of hepatitis that can be rapidly fatal.
The disease, especially hepatitis B, if deposited in any object at home, will be viable and can infect anyone within 2 weeks. Hence, they call for proper immunization both for children and adults.
For now, hepatitis B does not have cure, but there is cure for hepatitis C. First of all, even knowing your status. Because one thing about it is that it's a silent disease, and a lot of people have it. Until they go for screening, you will not know. Then two, all children should be taken to the hospital for vaccination. There's hepatitis B vaccine, and the one for children is free. But for the adults that are at risk, those people that are at risk, they are exposed to so many people around them that have hepatitis. It is better for adults to also go and take vaccine. There's vaccine for adults.
Thank God, because since 2004, the Nigerian government has introduced hepatitis B vaccination into the national program on immunization. So a child that is born within the first 1 year will have had complete dose of hepatitis B vaccination. And these are fantastic effort the government has made. And if somebody is infected, it is better for that person to come to the specialist who will be able to treat such an individual so that you can prevent the long-term complications, which includes liver cirrhosis, liver cancer. Because once a person gets to the stage of liver cirrhosis, liver cancer, that person is already going away.
World Hepatitis Day is being observed every 28th of July to create awareness, highlight global burden of hepatitis, and to encourage individuals to take action in eliminating the public health threat. Omoriola Humbeji, Osrc News.
Lynching, also known as jungle justice, is an aberrant act of violence and aids and continues to plague society, necessitating a robust legal framework to address it. Hence, Nigeria must take a united stand against the inhuman act and ensure the general public is better sensitized and the act criminalized. A public commentator, Ayo Akinoli, made a statement appealing for urgent action in passing comprehensive anti-lynching legislation to prevent the heinous crime. According to Mr. Akinoli, an anti-lynching law would provide a clear legal definition of the crime, helping law enforcement agencies to accurately identify and prosecute perpetrators, and as well act as a strong deterrent against potential offenders. Akinoli posited that following much-needed legislation, deterring and preventing acts of jungle justice would begin to heal the wounds of the past and foster a society built on respect for humanity and due process. He added that passing the legislation would demonstrate a commitment of National Assembly to address historical injustice and take proactive steps to rectify them, noting that the legislation would reaffirm government's commitment to upholding fundamental human rights, inspiring hope and change at home and abroad. The Senate says that it will start the screening of the 28 ministerial nominees proposed by President Bola Tinubu on Monday. The spokesperson of the Senate, Adeyemi Adaramodu, said though the Senate wasn't supposed to sit on Mondays, but due to the importance attached to the national assignment, all rules will be suspended for the exercise to commence on Monday. He said the Senate is going to examine the character, personality, the experiences, and the background of every nominee, adding that the Federal Executive Council FEC that will be constituted after the screening is going to be the one that will breathe oxygen into the comatose economy of Nigeria. President Bola Tinubu has approved the appointment of a new management team for the Nigerian Customs Service. This is coming weeks after the president appointed Adewale Adeniyi as the acting Comptroller General of Customs and retired some of the management members of the service. In a statement, the National Public Relations Officer of the service, Abdullahi Maiwada, said the appointees include 3 Deputy Comptroller Generals and 3 Assistant Comptroller Generals. The appointed officers include DCG F.O. Okun, DCG Mba Musa, DCG A. Amisu, ACG K. Olumo, ACG A.B. Mohammed, and ACG A. Alajogun. The Ekiti State Governor Biodun Oyebanji has erected a three-man committee to meet with the leadership of the organized labor to finalize proposals for palliative measures aimed at cushioning the effect of the subsidy removal on the citizens. The committee and the labor leaders were given 1 week to report back to the governor, whom would then make a formal pronouncement on the options that were considered implementable. The Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Yinka Oyebode, in a statement said government alone could not decide on palliative measures, hence the involvement of the leadership of organized labor. According to Oyebode, the palliative measures to be put in place would also take care of pensioners and people in the informal sector of the economy. The government's Freeman Committee include the State's Commissioner for Finance and Economic Development, Akin Oyebode, Chairman, the Head of Service, Bamidele Agbede, and the Commissioner for Health and Human Service, Oyebanji Filani. You're still watching Osrc News at 7. After the break, we bring you more stories. Please stay with us.
Iskili, báwo la ti fẹ́ sanwó ni? Farabalẹ̀. 1,000. We go wash play tire o. Farabalẹ̀ now.
Madam, èló lówó wa?
Brother, na 3,005.
Màá fún yín ní owó pé káàdì Glo ẹlẹ́gbẹ̀rún 10,000.
Oh yeah.
Bring your phone.
Ha! 10,000.
1,000 naira credit. Now you turn to 10,000.
No. All of us don't know about Glo Berekete. Ní ìlọ́po mẹ́wàá nísìnyí.
Ṣé o ti gbọ́? Ìlọ́po mẹ́wàá ló máa gbà lórí iyekíye tó o bá rà sórí ohun ìpè Glo Berekete 10 times rẹ.
I told you. Now what go tell?
Welcome to Buckingham Parks and Gardens, the epitome of standard and luxury living. Nestled amidst nature's beauty, this exquisite real estate development offers you comfort, elegance, and tranquility. Convenience and accessibility are paramount at Buckingham Parks and Gardens. Children from field and recreational centers are not excluded in this world-class aesthetic estate situated at Aisu Road, Owodiede, Oshogbo in Osun State. Don't miss your chance to be a part of this extraordinary community. Contact our sales team today at Buckingham Parks and Garden. Your dream home awaits you.
Agron Homes.
Building cities, communities, and homes.
When it's bright and early, get your breakfast right. You need all the nutrients that will hold you tight. Stay in power, you find it all in Peak. Every move you make, Peak's got you all the way. And the Peak goes on.
Power on every morning with our Peak protein breakfast to make the most of every day. Peak, reach for your peak.
Thank you very much for rejoining us on the news tonight. You can watch us live on our website www.osrc.ng and follow us on Facebook at OSRC TV, and on YouTube you can subscribe to our channel OSRC TV Ondo. Residents of Ibule community in a federal local government area of Ondo State have protested what they called imposition of Olubule-elect Prince Oluleke Ogunlade. Reports from the community claim that Prince Ogunlade insisted on continuing with the installation traditional rites by visiting houses of Kingsmaker with video camera. Residents of the community, including the youth leader, Wadley Adelego, claimed that only 3 warrant chiefs whose election was influenced by Prince Ogunlade as against the names tendered by the families were involved in the election that produced him as monarch. He said the community was not against selection of a new Oba, but insisted on due process. The late Olubule of Ibuleshiro, Oba Joseph Fallow, joined his ancestors in 2019. In line with the traditions of the land, his daughter, Princess Muyoluwa Fallow, emerged regent and ascended the throne in March 2019, when it was declared vacant. Since then, the race for the emergence of a substantive Olubule has been on. The 2023 edition of the BMO Summer Boot Camp is set to hold from August 13th to August 26th, 2023. The BMO Empowered Girls Foundation, in a statement by Senior Special Assistant of Media to the wife of the Governor, Oluwatobi Fadimi, said the event would take place at Mabes Academy, Okejebu, Akure. The BMO Summer Boot Camp empowers young girls with essential skills and knowledge in various fields, including technology, entrepreneurship, leadership, and personal development. Funded by wife of Ondo State Governor, Mrs. Betty Ayanwa Keredolu, the Summer Boot Camp is open to female participants in secondary school between the ages of 12 and 18. According to the statement, the registration for the 2023 edition of the BMO Summer Boot Camp is now open, and interested individuals are encouraged to secure their spots as limited spaces are available. The monthly sanitation exercise for the month of July holds in Ondo State tomorrow. In a statement by the General Manager on the State Waste Management Authority, Mr. Adefola Omowale, there will be restriction of human and vehicular movement between the hour of 7 and 10 in the morning. Mr. Omowale, who implored residents of the state to use the period to clean their surroundings, said violators will face the wrath of the law. He assured the people of better days ahead towards making the state cleaner and better. The governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Ogun State, Ladi Adebutu, has closed its case at the Election Petitions Tribunal after calling 94 witnesses. The petitioner, who is challenging the alleged refusal of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to comply with the Electoral Act, has also tendered over 200,000 documents before the tribunal to prove his case. In his petition, Adebutu alleged that elections were disrupted by thugs in over 99 polling units, disenfranchising over 40,000 voters from participating in the March 18 polls. He and the PDP said they have closed their cases, waiting for the petitioners, INEC, Abiodun, and the APC to open their defense. Meanwhile, INEC is expected to open its defense on Wednesday, being the first respondent in the petition. INEC's counsel, Abiodun Owonikoko, during the pre-hearing session, told the tribunal that the electoral umpire will be calling just one witness. The Nigerian Army has confirmed the arrest of a former soldier suspected to be supplying weapons to Boko Haram members in Bauchi State. The Nigerian Army, in a report on Joint Task Force operational activities as of 28 July 2023, said that troops arrested one suspected gun runner at Boy in Bugoro local government area of Bauchi State, with preliminary investigation revealing that suspect was a dismissed soldier from 5 BDE Damask. The report said troops recovered 2 pistols, 2 magazines, and 8 rounds of 9mm ammo. On the foreign scene, the unending overthrow of democratically constituted government in Africa, particularly in West Africa, continues to attract reactions on the need to effectively put a stop to the phenomenon. The recent military overthrow in Niger joins the long list of coups on the continent, and some history and security experts have identified the need to tackle corruption and inequality as essential to stopping the trend. Osrc Saeed Arabisala takes a look at the trends in Africa.
Africa has a long history of military overthrow of democratically constituted government. After independence, hardly there are any African country that has not taken a bite of this phenomenon, which continues to leave a footprint in the history of nations. In 2017 in Zimbabwe, it took a military takeover to bring Robert Mugabe's 37-year rule to an end. 3 years later, in 2020, a coup d'etat was reported in Mali. In 2021, reports showed that there were 6 coup attempts on the continent, with 4 of those successfully carried out in Chad, Mali, Guinea and Sudan. There were also 2 military takeovers in Burkina Faso in 2022. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres had in 2021 voiced concern that military coups were back and blaming a lack of unity amongst the international community in response to military-backed mutinies. After a failed coup in March 2021 in Niger, the success of the recent military takeover in the country in July 2023, where soldiers announced on national television the dissolution of the country's constitution, suspension of all institutions, and closure of the nation's borders, has since generated reactions among Committee of Nations, making it the 6th coup in West Africa since 2020. According to a professor of African literature, Bosuyi Mekusi, fundamental problem arising from colonial influence, ethnicity, resource control, and continuing economic downturn are unending factors.
The balkanization of Africa has caused huge divisions, and these divisions have created fault lines, and these fault lines have been exploited by both, post-colonial order, and maybe I should put imperialist order, and even indigenous exploiters who are now collaborating, to create division, because the whole essence is how to take advantage of the mineral resources in Africa. That is just the old truth. What they are after is how to seize power and how they use the power to have access, to the natural resources that are of huge deposit, in the region. So it is a matter of like cannibals raging.
A security expert and ex-military colonel, Folusho Saka, wants Nigeria to assume its rightful place as the giant of Africa by wielding influence to deter such moves.
You discover most of the coup in Africa has reason for taking over. They will have one excuse or the other. And basically, it is the bad government that brings in coup. Nigeria has to play a major role to stop coup d'etat. Too, the corruption too causes military encroachment in democracy. My general advice to African leaders to as much as possible tackle this economy to make Africa to consider poor people as their goal and target.
The need to champion inclusion of all citizens in African nations, elimination of corruption are identifiable, lasting solution to the coup tendencies.
We need to eliminate corruption. We need to begin to centralize the interests of the people, and we also need to make governance a selfless thing in this continent. So this idea of building palaces, quote unquote, I'm not saying we shouldn't have respectable abodes for government, but rather than this idea of having to grab everything that belongs to the people, idea of building personal or individual empire, we need to rise above all these things, centralize the interests of the people so that the people will own governance, so the people will also have trust in leadership, so the people themselves will be able to protect their democracy.
Nigeria's ousted president, Mohamed Bazoum, has declared democracy would prevail after his detention, just as the Economic Committee of West African States, led by Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu, announced that democracy will be protected in Niger. Sahid Aribisala, OSRC News.
Meanwhile, United States Vice President Kamala Harris and United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres have expressed strong support for Nigeria's effort towards the restoration of constitutional order in the Republic of Niger. A statement by presidential spokesperson Dele Alaki said they offered their support on separate telephone conversations with President Bola Tinubu. According to the statement, the two leaders commended Tinubu, who is also the chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and the Government, for spearheading the peace move. The two leaders also pledged to support democracy in Africa, including the West Africa sub-region. In the meantime, French President Emmanuel Macron has described a coup that ousted Niger's elected leader as dangerous for the Sahel. Macron says the coup is completely illegitimate and highly dangerous for Nigerians, for Niger, and for the whole region. Bazoum has been confined to his residence since Wednesday by his own presidential guard. The state TV has, however, announced the new coup leader, General Abdurrahman Tijani, while the chief of the presidential guard has been named president of the National Council for the safeguard of the homeland.
D'abord, je dirais ici avec beaucoup de clarté que la France condamne absolument, avec la plus grande fermeté, ce coup d'État militaire contre un dirigeant démocratiquement élu, courageux, et qui fait pour son pays les réformes et les investissements dont il a besoin, et que nous accompagnons comme nous avons accompagné son prédécesseur depuis le début. Ce coup d'État est parfaitement illégitime et profondément dangereux pour les Nigériens, pour le Niger et pour toute la région.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump is accused of pressuring an employee to delete security footage at his Florida home in new criminal charges related to his alleged mishandling of classified files. The new indictment adds 1 count of willful retention of defense information and 2 of obstruction, making 40 charges in total in this case. Mr. Trump, who is fighting multiple legal cases as he runs for president again, has denied any wrongdoing and called the prosecutor deranged. In sports, Super Falcons media officer Oluchi Tobechukwu has dispelled fears that some of the team's key stars might miss Monday's last group game against Republic of Ireland as a result of injury. Dependable midfielder Alimat Ainde limped off the pitch with what looked like an ankle problem in the second half of Thursday's clash against Australia. Right back Michel Alozie also picked up a knock in the game, while Osinachi Oali also sustained an injury. Tobechukwu, however, stated that the players are in good shape and will be fit for the match against the Republic of Ireland. The Super Falcons will take on Ireland at the Long Park, Brisbane on Monday. They need just a point from the game to secure a place in the round of 16. And with that sports story, we conclude the news tonight. But before we go, a quick look at the top stories. We told you that the Ondo State government says its decision to create 33 additional local government development areas is born out of the need to improve on governance at the grassroots. Medical experts in Ondo State have stressed the need for immunization to check the spread of hepatitis disease to commemorate this year's Global Day. The Nigerian Army has arrested a former soldier suspected of supplying weapons to Boko Haram terrorists in Bauchi State. And on the foreign scene, French President Emmanuel Macron has joined all the world leaders to condemn the coup d'etat in Niger. And that's the news tonight. Thank you very much for watching. Good evening.